Our next guest says this is the most dangerous moment in the Middle East in years, maybe even decades. Firas Maksad is a senior fellow and senior director for strategic outreach at the Middle East Institute in Washington. Good to have you with us. So just put this current crisis in perspective for us, because you have said that this is the most dangerous moment in the Middle East in years, possibly decades. Explain why.
Linda, it's good to be with you. We're almost 10 months into this war, and the U.S. administration and many of its partners in the region have tried very hard to prevent this from becoming an all-out regional conflict, particularly involving Iran and Israel, but also potentially dragging in the United States. This is the moment that is the most dangerous. Iran is very hard-pressed to come up with a response right now that helps it restore its deterrence against Israel after Israel conducted an attack, killing Hamas's leader in the Iranian capital under Iranian support and guard. And so they need to come up with a defense. They need to respond to restore their deterrence. But they also know that they and Hezbollah, if their response is deemed to be too strong, they might be given Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, the pretext he's looking for to launch a broader offensive, potentially one in Lebanon, to try and degrade Hezbollah's capabilities there. So very dangerous moment. And what we're seeing with these ceasefire talks that are due to start tomorrow is an American effort, President Biden's last-ditch effort to try and build a diplomatic off-ramp for Iran to back down from having to respond. But I'm not optimistic.
It's interesting, though, when you look at what we are hearing from Iran, it's vowing retaliation for the assassination of the Hamas political leader in Tehran. But it's also saying we don't want a war, we don't want to impact the Gaza ceasefire talks. It seems they've backed themselves into a corner somewhat.
They are in a very tough spot trying to strike that balance, and nobody wants to be seen as undermining the ceasefire talks. There's late breaking news before I got on the air that now Secretary Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, has postponed his travels to the region, and that's not a good sign. What that tells us is that the negotiations, all the back-channel diplomacy, has not matured yet. And while there are two senior American officials in the region right now, it seems like things are going to need some time. So how long the Iranians are going to continue to postpone this, keep Israel anticipating a response, keep the world holding its breath, we don't know. But right now, at best, these talks are unlikely to yield a breakthrough.
And of course, Hezbollah is widely considered to be the most powerful member of the Iran-backed network, known as the Axis of Resistance. It says it will retaliate for the assassination of the Hezbollah leader, independent of Iran. Is Hezbollah ready for a war?
Hezbollah does not want a war. Lebanon continues to suffer from the 2019 financial collapse, the most painful, most significant financial and economic collapse in that country's history. Certainly everybody in Lebanon, including Hezbollah's own constituency, remember the disaster of the 2006 war when they fought a month-long war with Israel. Nobody's looking for a war. But again, Hezbollah finds itself in this policy dilemma. If Israel's latest attack at the assassination of its military leader goes unanswered, that will only encourage the Israelis to conduct further attacks. But if the response is too strong, that can then give Israel the pretext to launch an all-out offensive in Lebanon, one that Hezbollah very much fears. So very difficult decision-making in Tehran and in Beirut.
Firas Maksad, really good to get your perspective and analysis. Thanks so much for joining us.
Okay.
We'll still to